أرأيت إن كذب وتولى ألم يعلم بأن الله يرى كلا لئن لم ينته لنسفعا بالناصية ناصية كاذبة خاطئة فليدع ناديه سندع الزبانية كلا لا تطعه واسجد واقترب.
Now, I would like to have the welcome speech. Respected Dr. Muhammad Afzal Sir, Dean Faculty of Life Science, KNU Aligarh, Dr. Virendra Nath Ji, President ICBCP, and retired Chief Scientist, NBRI Lucknow, Professor Ambika Patel, President Professor Ambika Patel, President ICOM Indian National Committee, and Dean and HOD Department of Museology, Baroda University, Dr. Mamata Mishra, Director INDAC Conservation Institute, Lucknow, Dr. Mandana Barkishki, Associate Professor, Melbourne University, Australia. Presently she is in New York. Guest and delegates, students, faculty members, members of ICOM India, members of ICBCP participation in this program from various parts of the world. I welcome you all to this function on the International Museum Day today, which is going to be present all over the world. The main theme of the seminar is power of museum. It having three sub-themes such as the power of achieving sustainability in museum, which will deal with Professor Ambika Patel. Then I welcome you, madam. The second sub-theme is the power of community building through museum education. Dr. Mandana Barkishki will discuss this point. I welcome you, ma'am. I will discuss the third sub-theme, technological innovations, digitization, accessibility in museums. Dr. Virendra Nath Ji will throw light on ICBCP and about its former secretary, late Dr. Shashi Dhawan. Just before the Dr. Shashi Dhawan Memorial Lecture will be delivered by Dr. Mamata Mishra. I welcome both of these experts. Dr. Mamata Mishra will discuss about the topic of conservation of museum artifacts. Dean Faculty of Life Science, Professor Afzal Sir, will inaugurate this function. I welcome Afzal Sir also for this function. Now I would like to discuss about the theme of the seminar, the power of museums. The museums are very important and powerful tools of education and edutainment, what we call edutainments. Every country is having thousands of museums. Like India have 1,000 museums working under various ministries like Department of Culture, Ministry of Environment and Forests, Science and Technology, and all the universities having number of museums. Like our university having more than 10 museums for educational purpose. Now I would like to discuss about the theme about the museum. This year, the International Museum Day 2022, the main theme of the program is the power of museum. The power of museum in innovating technology, digitization, accessibility is very important in the museum functions, and I would like to discuss some points in this regard. Digital innovation can make museum more accessible, interesting, engaging, helping audience understand complex theories and concepts in simple way of fun and entertainment. Each year since 1977, ICOM has organized International Museum Day on May 18 with various themes. This year, 2022, the theme is the power of museum. All around the world, more and more museums participating in International Museum Day. Last year, more than 37,000 museums participated in the event in about 158 countries, and the program reached 8 crore 30 million users in social media. Apart from this, Department of Museology also organizing this program in various countries. The objectives of International Museum Day is to raise awareness about the fact that museums are an important means of cultural exchange, entries of culture and development of mutual understanding, cooperation and peace among people. Museums continue to move towards becoming more equitable institutions. Diversity, equity, accessibility, innovation, digitization and inclusion must be tactically and internationally interwoven with an organization's strategic plan, policies and practice. It focuses on the museum professional and communities to create, imagine, share new practices of co-creation of values and marketing models for cultural sectors and innovative solutions for the social, economical and environmental challenges of the present situations. Since last year's 2020 and 2021 have passed through, COVID-19 crisis has swept the whole world abruptly, affecting every aspects of our life, including cultural sectors like museums have been under lockdown. Millions of people lost their jobs due to the close down of museums all over the world, particularly the private museums entirely depend upon the entry fee. According to a survey conducted by ICOM and other international organizations, presented dire situations for the museums and their professionals with serious economic, social and psychological repercussions in the short and long-term life. Moreover, many professionals expect due to the COVID pandemic last 2 years, including in our department, in our university, a lot of professionals and teachers have been expert. But these challenges also served as a catalyst for crucial innovations that were already underway as prospects for new avenues opened up. Online programs like webinar, virtual exhibitions, augmented reality, etc., which were initiated by various museums in advance, and remaining museums were compelled to do for their survival. For example, Indian museums are lagged in the ritual tour and all that, but they compelled to do during this phase. But international museums, developed countries already have these provisions. Museums are no expected exception to these challenges, and cultural sectors are among the most affected. This is a pivotal moment for our society, and we want museum to embrace it and lead the changes with the technology. The time is now to reimagine our relationship with communities we serve, to experiment with innovative and hybrid model of cultural fusion, and strongly reaffirm the essential values and ethics of museums for the construction of culture as a driver for the recovery and innovation in the post-COVID era. Just like we have the hybrid mode of the conference today, similarly the museum in future work in hybrid model. Both the virtual as well as the reality show will be there. Digital initiative in museum. As we know, during the lockdown period, visitors and users are not able to go from one place to another. So museum have to provide its services through the online mode. There are various virtual platforms such as Google Meet, WebEx, Zoom, etc., by which we can conduct the online exhibition, online tour, lectures, workshop. Although some museums are performing such activities, more and more museums must come forward for these digital activities. Because of this COVID, we experimented, we started all these things. Now we will continue with the hybrid mode of activities in museum. For example, museum at your doorstep is made a Directorate of Archaeology and Museum, Government of Gujarat, during this pandemic and COVID era. Similarly, heritage canvas of Tongan Coast is also initiated during the COVID period. Similarly, the webinars, a lot of webinars including museum fields are being conducted during this period. Now, digital storytelling. In the pandemic lockdown period, more than ever, cultural professionals everywhere in the world have that special responsibility to share stories that help to demonstrate the values of empathy, kindness, stories that underline the importance of understanding history, culture, traditions, that encourage people to recognize what binds them rather than what separates them. The Heritage Lab worked closely with Europeana to create a platform for sharing of these stories. Anyone can participate in the digital story first to tell stories based on the digitized material from cultural institutions across the world. The following link. It also helps people to be at mental peace and enjoyment, edutainment during this pandemic situation where under lockdown and stay in the home. Instead of sitting idle during the lockdown period, museum profession can come up with such innovative ideas if we have quality materials like augmented reality. People enjoy it and share with their friends to get it viral. Again, the lockdown and this type of disaster may take place at any moment. So we should be advanced preparation should be there. Advanced preparation for digital material must be done to develop such activities. Otherwise, it may not be possible in a day or two to do so during work from home situation in lockdown. For example, when the lockdown period, that was in March, and almost all the universities and libraries were closed down, and that examination period, developed countries like USA, Britain share their digital material to all over the world for preparing the examination through e-books, online services. So they were already prepared for that, but in India we were not prepared for such a situation. This is the one of the digitization technique where we had a book published on the reconstruction of past, which showing it is a ritual art, just like Noah's Ark. Before the flood, Noah collected all the species, just like we should digitize all the material before any type of disaster like earthquake, tsunami occur. The existence of museum in changing society can be justified only if it proves that the relevance to the natural and cultural needs of the society vis-a-vis socio-economic and technological development in the country. The increasing emphasis on the developing technology play an important role in education and information services at present has created a scenario where museum can no longer afford to remain in blissful isolation as mere passive exhibition of accumulated collection, just like conventional method of exhibition. They should have even more active and dynamic role to play, entertain and satisfy the visitors by using new materials and technologies. Otherwise, the visitors may opt for many other means and ways to spend their leisure time, like visiting malls, theme parks, 70 experience in the cinema hall, having high-tech facilities which the new generation attracts. Planned educational and cultural and entertainment programs coupled with healthy collaborations and cooperation of similar departments engaged in such programs are vital for healthy and sustainable development of museums. Thus, the future of institutions like museums in new millennium will be dependent upon how swiftly they recognize the potential resources like information technology, digitization, accessibility, tourism industry, museum marketing, and effectively adapt themselves into the changing time and demand of new generation. New generation required, everything in smart and technologically innovated item. Now, artificial intelligence is the future of the museum, where virtual reality, augmented reality, all this based on the artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence can be used in galleries and displays for feelings of simulated environment. When visitors enter any gallery, then simulated environment which is programmed is activated and visitor feels the experience of natural environment. Apart from the conventional museum displaying the harmonium and tabalas, etc. in showcases, now the technological innovative music garden like music museum established in Bangalore, that is quite interactive type of museum. That's very interesting and new generation is attracted to that. But they are not attracted to the conventional method of display and exhibition. If I get time, I will show you a video. Similarly, artificial intelligence and virtual reality is application in the museum. This is the virtual reality where museum can adopt. Similarly, augmented reality is one of the very important basic things used in display and diorama and all that. Augmented reality can be used in construction of museum, display, diorama. By this technology, we can visualize the structure of galleries or any other structure even before the construction. It can also be used in exhibition installation. Then now, thinking about the technological developments now, PPT and presentation 5 years ago. Technologies are integral part of modern museum. It's enabled all the functions of museum more effectively and sustainable, such as collection, documentation, preservation, conservation, exhibition, communication, education. All these functions can use technologies for more effective interpretation. Technological advancement in museums in the last 2 decades have resulted in a paradigm shift in the museum and made them more interesting and effective and attract more visitors. So many museums are coming with that. This is, for example, plastinated specimen, a human being having this one skin in his hand, and it is a new techniques of preservation technique. Similarly, the plastinated holes we try to show all muscles. When the holes move, how the muscles react. Museums of developed countries are technologically much more advanced than those of developing countries like India. That is why tenders for the construction of many new museums are floated globally and finalized many projects to the foreign companies to execute the work. For example, Patna Museum, Sardar Patel Museum, they floated the tender and given to foreign countries because we are not much advanced. So we should do the technological advancement in our museum. In India, museums are often misunderstood as housing sculpture and archaeological fragments like potteries and tools. It is because of the lack of awareness about the different type of museums and their collections among the public. Custodians of the museums are also responsible for it because they do not make, update and popularize their activities through modern information technologies, except for a few museums which put their information on their website in the last few decades. The big crisis in Indian museums is lack of visitors because they do not provide sufficient information about their collection and are unable to attract visitors and satisfy their present demand. Like new generation demand the more information and more technological innovations in museums. Cultural museums exhibit sculpture like tools and sculptures with little information about 2-3 words. That is not sufficient as per the demand of the new generation. Natural history museum often put some more interactive display to make exhibit interactive, but science and technology museum use more technologies and interactive exhibit like robotic dinosaurs, augmented and virtual reality in science cities and science and technology museums. This is one of the. This is a 3D model with a special effect in a high-tech Parliament Museum, New Delhi, where this robotic display is added or embedded into the Nehru's speech, and now similarly is another one.
At Google, we're very excited to announce the newest layer in Google Earth, ancient Rome 3D. You can travel back in time to see Rome, Italy, as it was in 320 AD, and explore ancient Rome as never before. Let's start by opening Google Earth and selecting the ancient Rome 3D layer under Gallery. In Google Earth, you can fly over the city to explore more than 6,000 3D buildings, including many in high detail and some containing full interiors. Our team worked with the Rome Reborn Project, headquartered at the University of Virginia, to provide the data. In each place mark, People find historical information about each monument.
Technology has changed the it is not the futuristic scenario, but still many museums are bringing this type of technologies in museums, and for instance, the recent technological advancement changes in the display of dusty dinosaur skeleton in the 3D model. Then it was modified into robotic life-size dinosaurs which move their body parts, interact with public in a lifelike way, and roars at visitors. Now the augmented and virtual reality shows the dino park have made the interpretation even more interesting. Previously, it was only the skeleton was displayed. Then later on, the 3D model developed. It became more effective. Then this robotic type of dinosaur. The 3D model or robotic dinosaur which interact with the student. So the visitor gets stimulated and motivated by this technique. Similarly, this is virtual augmented reality where dinosaurs contact. This is one of the exhibits of the British Museum, Smithsonian Museum, Washington DC. Now, humanoid robots are some of the recent inventions which can be used in museum as robo guides. Instead of human guides, robo guides are available in various museums.
Saitama University's Human Robot Interaction Center is doing research on applying human communication methods to robots. This museum-guided robot explains the exhibits in an art gallery. It detects listeners' facial movements and modes using a laser range-finding sensor and a 360-degree camera. In this way, the robot finds out how interested the listener is in the exhibit and how much the listener understands the explanation.
ロボットの動きを私たちは使っているんですけれども、その動きは社会学の先生と一緒に研究をしていまして、
Saitama University
If you're searching for the uncanny valley, look no further than the work of Osaka University professor Hiroshi Ishiguro. He has been creating humanoid robots for years, and his latest incarnation, which is so realistic and scary, will act as robot guide to the National Museum of Emerging Science and Innovation in Japan. The museum will welcome 3 robots.
Museums have unlimited scope for conducting research, unlike other institutions. Emerging research in museums consists of quality preservation of DNA for regenerating or cloning extinct species, color preservation of organic materials, nanotechnology, embedded technology, biomaterials, herbal biocides, plastination, haptic technology, GPS security system, PCR, QRC, RFD, cognitive learning and mnemonics, human brain, computer interface, augmented and virtual reality, and so on. So we are working in some of the areas for research. Now, haptic technology is one of the new technologies it's using in museums. This is one of the exhibitions we had in our museum, which giving the technological innovations, the transition sticks modified into wheelchair, which can be used for the blind and visually impaired visitors. So this exhibition we have conducted last year, 2 years ago, in collaboration with National Museum, New Delhi.
लाइट चली गई है, जनरेटर स्टार्ट लास्ट कंटिन्यू कर रहा है.
This futuristic chair is an electrically controlled device designed to run self-operating with the help of user command by the principal human-computer interface. This reduces the user's human effort and forces life to accomplish as visually and physically challenging workplace and real-time participation. This chair detects associated alarm calls and signals which reduces the chance of collision based on the human-computer interface.
Advanced preparation, futuristic planning, adopting new technologies, updating strategies which are mandatory for the sustainable development of the future museum. If you are not upgrade, the museum cannot be sustainable in the new generation or new phase. So don't wait for the disaster or crisis to come for initiate the mitigation process, but if we update our strategies, we can overcome the crisis and able to make the challenges into opportunities. Otherwise, we will fail to survive due to the lack of preparedness. If you fail to plan, your plan will fail. If you don't update it, you will be outdated. Now, in this word, we would like to finish. I would like to show a video about the music museum Bangalore.
Let's take a look. Located in JP Nagar, Bengaluru, the museum has three main sections: a state-of-the-art interactive exhibit area, a sound garden, and a learning center.
The sound garden is basically to introduce people to the principles of sound before entering the main music museum. So it's more to do with the sound made up of natural things. The sound garden is made up of wood, stone, metals, brass, aluminium, and we have a humming stone where when you put your head inside and you hum or you say Omkar, you have a vibration, you have a
Rooftop amphitheater and a small recording studio setup where you can record your voice and karaoke songs.
So we thought, why not have it something like a function street? We have everything, all elements in commercial stage, including the terrace, crossing them, road nameplates, and coming to two auto rickshaws. The auto rickshaws turn into video kiosks where we play a documentary one and on the other we have concerts.
More than 100 musical instruments have been kept for public viewing. The gallery also comes with interactive tests through which one can hear how each displayed instrument sounds. The highlight of the museum is the computer-based interactive installations, which allow one to experience the process of music making. More to this, the museum also has a learning center where music programs are being provided.
This is the first time I've been to an entire museum for music. This is quite a sensory experience.
We really enjoyed the museum as it is very thoughtfully done and great educational experience, not only for children but also for grown-ups.
Now, I would like to invite Professor Afzal Saab, the Dean Faculty of Life Science, for the inaugural address.
Professor Abdul Rahim Saab, Chairman Department of Physiology, and here is General Secretary ICOM India and General Secretary ICBCP, the organizer of this seminar. Dr. Vandana Bharkeshri, Associate Professor, Melbourne University. Professor Ambika Patel, President ICOM India and HOD Department of Physiology, University of Baroda. Dr. Virender Nath, President ICBCP and Chief Scientist NVRI Lucknow. Dr. Mamta Mishra, Director, Intact Conservation Institute, Lucknow. Members of the teaching staff, participants, ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to give the inaugural address. Of course, the details have been given out by Professor Abdul Rahim Saab. I would like to give you some brief insights, into the use of museums, as we say, in the study of in the profession of biological sciences. It is almost now clear that the study of biological sciences is incomplete without biological museum. As we know that living beings, they are present in the different parts of the world, and there are myriads of plants, animals and microbes, and they inhabit different ecological niche. Then we have the recent aspects of the advancements that are made in the field of taxonomy, which is actually the one part of the evolution. That is, if we say that evolution is a phenomena which represents the, as Darwin said, descent of new forms with modification in the old one. And Dobzhansky defined evolution as gradual unfoldment of living matter from simple to complex, from dependent to more independent state of affairs, and from dependent to completely independent type of status. But we know that no organism can live in isolation, and of course they always have an ecosystem to balance. But we try to understand the different features of evolution through the collection of various specimens from nature, whether they are plants, animals, and from the earth, from water, and from oceans, and then we try to find out their relationship. So actually the field of evolution could not have been complete without the collection of the materials which have been done by the museum experts in the different parts of the world. The second part of this I would like to emphasize on the, say, the fossils and the basic material which actually represent the action of evolution as the direct evidence, if you want to say. Fossils again can be of four types. They can be actual remains, they can be the amber in the juicy resin secretions of the coniferous forest where the insects were trapped. They could be what we call as footprints or casts and molds, and they could be also the remains of the once living being, but some parts petrified, not 100% petrified, it becomes raw. So as you know that in the field of expedition, one of the woolly mammoths were discovered, and the head was so fresh that expedition dogs could feed on them when the ice melted. So we have a very nice, objects collection which are giving us a direct evidence for evolution. Now with this small background, I would like to give you some more insights into the modern trends of evolutionary biology, and that is the molecular taxonomy, the taxonomy which is based on DNA studies. As I am a geneticist by background, and that too I am a human geneticist, so and a population geneticist, I would like to put some light on that. You know that as we see that evolution is actually a thing which is actually giving us a continuity with change. So what is that material object in the living being which gives us that information, continuity and change, and that is nothing but DNA. Every species has a unique DNA, and their bases can be completely sequenced, deciphered, and the relationship between organisms can be traced on the basis of the similarities of the sequence and differences. And in that way, actually we make the phylogenetic tree, and that tree, can give us the relationship and the evolutionary significance nowadays. The most important thing today is that DNA study requires a minimum of the artifact, of the material. Even the dead body parts, extraction of them can be used for separation of DNA, isolation of DNA, and which can be magnified through the PCR technology, polymerase chain reaction, and this DNA can then be sequenced through the Sanger sequencing or the next generation sequencing method, NGS as it is called, and the entire sequence can be then, made available, and which can be, deposited at the National Center for Biological Information in the US repository, and that information can be used by different scientists in studying the evolutionary status of the organism which is described. Now, I'd like to share a few information, that we think that taxonomy has become almost saturated, or it is a dead science. It is not correct to say like that, because we have still many flora and fauna not discovered from different parts of the world, and enough is required, enough is needed to do for them. And with all these background information, we should know and try to find out that with the information gained through paleontologists, information gained through the morphologists, or what we call different fields experts, we can then try to find out that, build up different aspects of the evolutionary theory. And I'd again like to give a few information regarding the new concept of evolution. As we know that the Darwinian story of natural selection today stands, of course, one of the factors responsible for evolution, but it is not the complete story. We have the new story of Darwin, where genetic drift also plays a role, and where we have other, extended evolutionary synthesis theories which have been given by different scientists. And then we have the recent one which is called as Evo-Devo approach, evolution and developmental approach, evolutionary. And all this information now has given us to the feeling that evolution is a highly complex phenomenon, and one aspect of it cannot explain all types of things. One of the major objections against Darwinism was raised by, I think, a great paleontologist who worked in, American Museum also, and Stephen Jay Gould punctuated equilibrium theory. And Gould was, expert on the, mollusk, as we say. The molluscan species, he collected a lot of them, and he said that Darwinism believes in gradualism. That is, there is gradual change in the evolutionary time scale, but it is no longer true, because there are certain abrupt stages of evolution where there are certain gaps. So there is the evolution, and then there is a static period, and then there is again evolutionary change. So there is the environment which actually affects the passage of evolution, not only the genes or the natural selection and they shift. So museum, tries to give us a complete holistic picture, as we say, about nature, about evolution, and about knowledge, as we say. And we know that the museum has been a contributor to knowledge, as all the great ideas of polymathy, they have come through art and museum, and which can be seen in the different life of the different people who are called as polymaths. A person who is interested in more than one field. And Leonardo da Vinci was one such fellow, and he was a painter, he was an architect, he was an engineer, and he was like that. But we know that with the passage of time, the knowledge has grown so fast, and so it has taken up specialization, different disciplines. But as we know that, at the base of that thing, there is some, something which is trying to unite all these aspects, and human being, they should be trained not only the specialities of knowledge, but they should be given a general picture about knowledge also, about history, about society, about nature. And I think that museum can play that role in developing a holistic view about knowledge and picture. And let me just add one more thing. That in during shroud, the Christ, when he was given the, as we say, the crucifixion, some cloth was there where his blood stained stain was preserved, and that shroud was kept in the Roman Museum. And scientists wanted a few, just a small piece of that stain cloth to study the DNA. And when the DNA was extracted from that, stamp, postage stamp like a piece of cloth, the DNA, the sequence revealed that it was of very recent past, not of that much past that Christ was born. It is not when he was crucified. It is not that much old. It is quite recent, and so it was, some piece of cloth which was just kept in the museum, so that the people should pay their reverence, and Christ's, so-called was to be maintained. Then the clergy, in the Roman clergy, they said that this was our faith. If it is not the real cloth, but still we have the faith in this piece of shroud, and we feel that Christ was still there, but maybe it is some other cloth is there. So we say that the museum people, they can give, a lot of birds, a lot of insects, a lot of butterflies, etc. are still in collection in the different museums, and which have not been studied till date. So museums can give us a great add to the studying of taxonomy. Like many but for skeletal remains of human beings, skulls of humans are still there in the German museum, and the evolutionary study of human species is still being conducted still today. So with these aspects of museum, which is giving us great help in studying anthropology, studying what we call as entomology, studying vertebrates, and we know that a lot of great taxonomists or scientists were museum curators, like Hyman, for example, Libby and Rita Hyman, whose books on invertebrates are well known, or Edwin H. Goldberg was a vertebrate paleontologist. Romer, for example, A.S. Romer, who was a great authority on vertebrate paleontology. They were all, museum curators in different parts. Even in the recent past, we had some scientists who are well known as systematics. They were ornithologists, and they were, visiting the museum for studying these birds, feathers, and other things. Meyer, for example, Ernst Meyer, who is regarded as one of the founding fathers of, modern systematics. So they were in the Harvard Museum, the Smithsonian Museum, and the British Museum of Natural History, and so on and so forth. So I am very happy to say that our faculty of museology is one great addition to this field of science in this part of the country, and many people are getting their training and they are coming out to visit this place. And with the new advancement technology being taken up by the research scholars, I think that museology will go a long way in providing answers and in helping the conservation of nature also. Because if we know, we protect, and if we protect, we conserve. With this, I thank all participants and the organizers for giving me this opportunity to present my views once again.
Thank you, Professor Jalsa, for your inaugural address and insight about the future of museum and the biological science, including genetics, etc. Now I would like to invite Dr. Mandana Barklishi. She is the Associate Professor of Melbourne University, Australia. At present, she is in New York. She is waiting for us. The time is about 1 a.m. now there. Even though she is with us for the program, she will talk about the second theme of the power of museum, of the museum tech. Now I invite Professor Mandana Barkilish. Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. First of all, I would like to thank Professor Abdurrahman for his kind invitation. Actually, now it's 2:30 morning in New York, so I hope I will be more energized to discuss about what I would like to do. And here, my greetings to Professor Tarek Mansour, Professor Afsar Abdullah, Professor Patel, Dr. Mahmoud Bushra, and to all my colleagues and friends and students. And also I would like to give my congratulations for Museum Day and my respect for memory of Dr. Rashid Ahmad, our dear friend and colleague. I would like to share a screen. Hopefully I can do that. Will you give me permission for sharing?
Yes.
Yeah, I would like to share my PowerPoint presentation. Should I go to your entire screen?
Yes, please.
Ma'am, please share your screen. Yeah, I'm trying to share my screen, but I don't know which one I should go. I just went to the options on your entire screen. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Okay, and then when I go to my entire screen, then and it doesn't click when I do the share. Ma'am, please click the Can you see that? No, ma'am. No?
Please share your screen.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Okay. Yes, here.
We are not able to. Ma'am, please open your PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah, it is already open. But it doesn't come to the screen. I don't know why.
Ma'am, please minimize this Google Meet and open your PowerPoint presentation.
Okay, what I can maybe to send you my PowerPoint and you open it.
No, it is okay.
In your PowerPoint, please select the slideshow option.
My PowerPoint is already on. So, your entire screen, okay? Then the PowerPoint is
Hello. Yes,
so when I share, it comes this screen. Can you see that?
Now open your PowerPoint. Open your
Yeah, the
PowerPoint.
PowerPoint. Yeah, the PowerPoint is Can you see it? Yes, ma'am, it is visible. Please go ahead. Please go ahead. Okay, is it okay now?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. So, I'm sorry for this. It was just a technical problem. So, in fact, I would like to a bit about 10 minutes to talk about education and the museum, of course, their missions, their civic, social responsibilities, and their modes of engagement with communities are in a constant process of transformation in response to social and economic imperatives at local, national, and global levels. There is a need for museum to stay relevant and be responsive to pressing social and environmental issues such as population and sustainability, social justice, and especially indigenous rights. I would like to share with you that several models of impact have been developed in Europe and the United States, and a number of benefits are claimed for participation in museum programs and museum visitation. However, these have not been subject to rigorous testing, particularly in Australia. The recent study by Dr. Linda Kelly, Australian scholar, discusses challenges for museums in measuring impact and meeting audience needs, drawing on two major research projects: investigating the impact of small museum in their local communities and exhibition as content sites, and the roles of museum in contemporary society. The framework adopted for this study was informed by social capital constants contrast reciprocity and networks using a brief behavior dichotomy within the museum community context shown in this diagram. According to her study, this study attempting to measure the impact of museums, she found that museums build social capital, they provide opportunities for education and learning through visual and physical experiences. They also allow for personal reflection that extends one's worldview. Second is museum develop and support communities. Museums help to build a collective identity by encouraging reflection on shared values, common heritage, social connectedness, and providing public spaces for leisure. Museums contribute to social change and public awareness, and also museums build human capital. They create social networks, personal inspiration and validation, encourage creativity, and develop a sense of perspective. And finally, economic benefits. Museums attract people, stimulating the economy and employment. Museums also help create value through supporting the community's brand. However, when it comes, there is a art museum teaching a platform of the Forum Online, which its editor, according to Mike Borowski, he raised this issue that the word community has become a vague and almost meaningless expression. As museums vaguely define communities as groups that might not be engaging or connecting with the museum, there is also troubling binary and divide we have created between museum and community. As museums vaguely define, the strategies for museum education can be jeopardized and not effective as it should be. And also now, what is the all these issues which have been raised? There is a discussion about the museum, some transformations, and there is a discussion about these three areas, which is to create the beloved community, to create a human-centered museum, and education through civic engagement. Beloved community is the idea of community as an agent of change, engaged in a struggle for justice and the well-being of the whole. Bell Hooks, in her book regarding the killing rage and racism, says beloved community is formed not by the eradication of difference, but by its affirmation, by each of us claiming the identities and cultural legacy that shape who we are and how we live in the world. Human-centered museum, we are talking about embracing a mindset of openness, participation, and social connectivity allows museum the chance to extend the boundaries of what is possible and serve as sites for their profound human connection in the 21st century. Jamie Nutter and Maggie Brand discussed their ideas for developing a more human organization in a world affected by social media and the internet in their book Humanize: How People-Centric Organizations Succeed in the Social World. I wrote that we need organizations that are more human. We need to recreate our organizations so that the power and energy of being human in our work life can be leveraged. This has the power not only to transform our individual experiences in the work world, but also to access untapped potential in our organization. And also what we mean by education through civic engagement. Stephen Long, in her paper Practicing Civic Engagement, she's talking about making your museum into a community living room, proposes a definition of community and makes the case that civic engagement can help a museum address pressing social concerns and needs. Stasi Marie Garcia, Director of Community Engagement at the Santa Cruz Museum of Art and History, she writes, it is not solely about how museum can serve communities, but rather what are the community's resources, knowledge, and interests that can inform museum practice. Furthermore, how can museum and communities work together to share strengths in the community? So I would like to, for just this short limited time which I have to speak, these three kind of that we raised here, I think it can reflect to this exhibition, the recent exhibition which we had in the West Gallery in Australia, in Melbourne, which was regarding the stories of Middle Eastern manuscripts in the Melbourne University Artwest Gallery. It is called Didar. Didar is a Persian word to visit. It is the moment when evocative memories transcend time and space, with the excitement of hearing from the beloved. It is intimacy with the subject and the anticipation of a new experience. Through this exhibition, what actually has been done, it is an exhibition of educational program which through this Didar exhibition offers a journey into how works in the University of Melbourne Middle Eastern Manuscript Collection were produced, how it has been collected and traded at West Gallery at Faculty of Art and University. Didar is an exhibition which follows the journey of the Greenway Center for Cultural Materials Conservation Research of the University's rich Middle Eastern Manuscript Collection. Through the eyes of the conservator, history and science blend together to uncover incredible stories. Means to bring all the resources which we had around as PhD students and different kind of scientists and also different people which around not only the professionals but also the people who can collect this kind of the different expertise to bring all this story together through their examination of leather, paper, script, ink and illuminations. We could gain information about the artistic practice, social motivation and the composition of materials. Didar is an examination of their journey of discovery, which it was very interesting for the community of the Middle Eastern and the collection which it was lying on the library for many years without any story. So this is actually the Middle Eastern collection which in the University of Melbourne University has been, the study has been started. And then the material technology of this collection now through the different PhD students, through a different expertise is going to be revealed. And this is actually the workshop which I'm doing. I mean, there is a big project on the paper dyes, which how the paper was dyed and how it has been sized. And then through this collection, we are trying to bring the technique of the materials, and then for the future analysis of the scientific analysis of the collection to be helpful. So these are the kind of activities which I wanted to share with you, that how these three areas which it has been raised to bring community together with what kind of the resources in the community and not only in the museum but towards the university, towards the different kind of aspects of expertise to come together and bring the story for the educational purpose. So this is, in fact, I just bring in some of the works which I was involved with the conservation lab of the Melbourne University for data analysis of paper, and also a workshop in the Bodleian Library of the Oxford University. And now we are moving towards a more digitized digital database for all this information of the material technology to be accessible for the not only for the university but for the in the online to be accessible to the different people to look. So this is the very brief. I promise that I talk only 10 minutes. So thank you very much. And this was my presentation.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you, Dr.
For your wonderful lecture. Now I would call Dr. Virendra Nath to
Thank you.
please.
Dr. Virendra Nath to please.
President of the National Council for Biodiversity of Cultural Property. So please. Yes, sir, you are audible. Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Thank you, Professor Abdullah, for giving me this opportunity to share the details of the ICPCP as well as the lecture which will be given by Mamta Banerjee, Mamta Mishra ji. This will be a memorial lecture in memory of Shashi Dhawan, academic secretary of our society. So, as a president, I have some responsibility and I will share. I am very happy to see Mandana here after a long time. We met at AM, Aligarh Muslim University, last conference of a long time. So anyway, I think the speaker is ready. Mamta Banerjee, Mamta Mishra is here. So for about the ICPCP, Indian International Council of Biodiversity of Cultural Property, is one of the leading society which is running its 32nd year age. We have completed 25 years. We have celebrated silver jubilee of this council in the year 2015. And our secretary, the academic secretary, Shashi Dhawan was there. She helped me to organize this conference very successfully. I pay homage to the founder of the society, late Padmashri Professor O.P. Agrawal sir, who have given opportunity to form this platform. In one of the meetings which was held at NRLC, and he was founder. He was then Director General of the NRLC and founder, President of the society. After that, many activities have been carried out by IBCP. Many international conferences, national conferences, we had published proceedings of the conferences. We also released a newsletter due to some unavoidable circumstances. This is now not coming, I think. All of the members will have, and then this will come again, will publish again. So, we are in a very active and more active mode, and President Secretary, Professor Abdul activities of ICBCP and wish to carry the flag forward and the society at a very high height. So congratulations and thank you, Professor Abdul Rahim ji. You have also arranged a Hockey Akbar Memorial Lecture last month in the month of March, and this is the second memorial lecture in the memory of our Academic Secretary, late Shashi Dhawan. So thank you very much and all participants for participating in this particular moment. Shashi Dhawan.
Thank you.
Shashi Dhawan. Shashi Dhawan is also very dynamic. She did her PhD, MSc and PhD degree from Lucknow University. Then joined NRLSC as a scientist and retired as a scientist. After hard work, she participated in many activities of NRLC, bringing the research work or research study on this particular subject, very under the guidance of Professor Hockey Akbar sir. She has attended international conferences, national conferences at many places in universities and institutions. She carried the flag as a secretary of the society up to her last breath. She expired on 17th April 2017, and still her last breath she worked for the society. We miss both the dignitaries, President, late Hockey Akbar sir, and Secretary, late Shashi Dhawan. So, in these memories and as well as for the active participation in the society, and I will try my best to carry this society in a better manner, which is working for last 2 or 3 years after that. Okay, so thank you very much all the members present here, all the persons from the university or the students who are here. Thank you very much on behalf of the ICBCP as president, as a member. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Virendranath for your valuable words. Now I would like to welcome Professor Amrita Patel, Management Department of Cardiology, MS University, Calcutta. Grace the occasion. Am I audible, Ms. Amrita?
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am, you are on. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for maintaining the decorum of the sequence. Good afternoon. I will be waiting in a long enough. I'm sorry, I will be very brief because I have to go for another session which I have already completed. Thank you so much for giving this invitation. I extend my thanks to the venue and the team for doing this event on behalf of AIIMS and collaborating with ICOM India. And a warm good afternoon to all the speakers. Amraji, seeing you after a long time, both in online. And Ms. Madana, it is nice to see you sitting across New York and we are speaking from India. Thank you so much for joining us today. Still you are there with us with all the technical issues that are happening in between. And namaskar to Virendraji for being a part of this event, collaborating with ICOM India. Yes, before I start, I would greet everybody on behalf of ICOM India and Department of Meteorology, the Maharashtra Cyclone District of Florida, wonderful international
Yes, we all know that we are celebrating today with a theme, the power of the museum. So when we look at the museum and its power, I think we have been talking about that for many years, and we know it's a wonderful tool to deal with, wonderful agency to deal with. And not taking much of your time, let me start my PowerPoint to share my screen and then go ahead. Can you see the screen now? Hello, my audible? Lisa?
Yes, you are.
I think your microphone because that's creating the issue on the radiation from host computers. Okay, so let's, Dr. Rahim was asking me about sustainability. I thought let me be very brief and share some of the issues in relation with sustainability, looking at museum as a powerhouse. We all know museologists from the field of museums. We all know how museum service society in terms of as a non-governmental organization. ICOM India also involved with that. So museum as an empowering institution meant to incorporate all who would become a part of this shared heritage. Any citizen would walk into the museum and appreciate the achievement of this cultural heritage. What actually means and need is some, people should have the attitude to come to the museum, share some time. So it's a kind of mutual win-win situation where the museum as well as the individual who is interested to take care of the museum, its collection, and transform themselves by enriching, by doing variety of activities in the museum. So it is a mutual collaborative situation. We are equally responsible to make museum our house. We are equally responsible making museum as a social entity in the truest sense. Let me take you further, and today I will be sharing some of the individual projects which I have done in terms of sustainability and museums, and also with the research work as a museum professional and also as a professional who teaches museology and trains the future museologists as a professor of museum studies. So I will be taking you through a journey of few of the case studies where as an example to understand the power of the museum. This is Bhasha Center. I'm picking up examples from Gujarat, from Western part of India. This is Bhasha Center, which is established way back in 1966. It's a private trust for cultivation and study of Adivasi languages. Why I'm bringing up Adivasi cultural language because it's a tribal related issue, as well as it is an empowerment in terms of the minorities. When I say minority, it's not minorities, basically the marginalized communities. The communities who need our help. The communities need museums and their services. So Adivasi Center, like the center which is the Bhasha Center, which is actually for the Adivasi upliftment, their language and culture. What this Bhasha Center do is, the Bhasha Center has a museum which is known as Bhacha. Bhacha is known as Museum of Voice, where the Museum of Voice, Bhacha is basically trying to help secondary in terms of their system. I'm extremely sorry for a moment, my network went off. I'm in a remote area in between my travel. Extremely sorry for the interruption with the network.
So Vacha Museum is actually why I'm using Vacha Museum an example, because Vacha is giving an example, a powerful example of museum being a powerhouse. Museum being an entity where it has the power to support the community, support to preserve their heritage, preserve their culture, preserve their language, and to digitalize the whole thing. Now Vacha has a project with UNESCO. So they are digitalizing the folklore, they are digitalizing the dialects, they are digitalizing the traditions and the festivals for this community in the districts of North Gujarat are doing. Basically the titles, the meal bread, the Dapur nights, and the type in the borderland of Gujarat and Madhya Pradesh. So one example to talk about how this power of the museum enable the community to sustain, empower them, and to retain their cultural heritage. Moving ahead, the next point is basically to talk about the Adivasis getting trained by the museum, where the lady, the picture if you could see, I don't know how much it's visible, which technically is not there. When the lady was explaining me is that I was lady who had been trained by this museum. There are many people who have trained for various types of activities. So it's a part of empowerment in terms of museum as a powerhouse, where it is trying to enrich the people who are in the community, to train them to guide, to train them to explain, to train them to run the library, to train them to do basic documentation. So it's basically not only doing certain activities to the experts, but also enriching them, enabling the individual community members to get involved and own the heritage, run the museum. So it's a mutual beneficial situation where the individual and the museum working together, where the community feel that they are a part of the museum, they own the museum, they own the connections. Museum definitely becoming an empowering institution to take care of the community. So I'm just putting a situation where definitely the sustainability of the community and the culture and be taken care of by the museum, where a dialogue between the museum and the community, an interaction between the museum and the community, where both get benefit, both get identity, both get sustainability, and they also, the community also get empowerment in terms of economic and sustainability. So we see nowadays the museums are becoming the catalyst of change, and which is the need of the hour. Of late, the museums are redefining their role. Newer and actually engaging experiences are happening for the visitors by the museum. Creating identity through activities and for the different target groups and the segments of the society is also another dimension. Linking and branding with identity and the psychological associations between the cultural products, basically the artifacts and collections, and its volumes. It's also wonderful dimensions what we are trying to say about the sustainability efforts when we talk about the power of the museum. I will try to explain another example where I've been doing extensive community and craft community documentation, where I've been dealing with Adivasis community who are very well known for their embroideries and the craft and such. There are many communities. I have done with 3 communities, and I'm only sharing experience with one community which I run, where we were documenting their all sorts of embroideries so that we could translate that to museum history, and they could produce more products, and we become the museum, the department of museology, teaching and could be the small museum in our access, could help this community to sustain for making more craft items for museum displays. So we were connecting the community to various museums as well as organizations and supporting them so they continue the craft production. So this was one project. So the project started as documentation of the craft in the community and their activities, moved on to supporting them commercially so that they could continue making those products. Another example which I wanted to share, because I was also a part of this I did a project visit Vietnam, where the Kalaisha Community Museum is in touch with the remote areas, the borderland of India and Pakistan, where they do a lot of community participation activities, where they invite the elders in the society who do this embroidery, who only know the embroidery now, they don't know youngsters do not do it. So the museum, the director is doing a knowledge transfer from the elders to youngsters. So they make a lot of viable products which is commercially viable and commercially sold in the international markets. So what is happening here is the bridge between the elders and the youngsters, and the youngsters who are actually running away due to urbanization, running away from this crafting, get the knowledge transfer done. So in a way, if you look at holistically, it is they are supporting the community, they are giving this product. You can see in one of this, there's a snake and ladder wall hanging, but it's a game piece. It's already internationally marketed, it's not a plastic product, it's not a textile craft. The craft is done in a way of a game object which goes to the market and people buy for the children. So looking at the commercial viability of the craft as art and supporting this, I should not say illiterate girls, but the girls who are these young girls who are not gone to school much, maybe drop out from first, second classes. Also given an opportunity, half day after their house work, they come to the museum and do this activity. So they could start up a bank account, they have now they are self-sustainable as far as income generation is concerned. So sustainability of the craft, the museum being a powerhouse, being a mediator between the community, older generation to younger generation, and also both the generations, older generation and younger generation get revenue and they become more empowered. So in true sense, the museum as a powerhouse to support this community in terms of their sustainability, livelihood, daily maintenance, and making their product as a heritage brand for international platform. So these are a few things which I thought I should share very clearly, and one of my other projects which I did with community sustainability was with art and craft and community and art and craft sustainability in terms of dealing with artwork. What you see is that these artwork performers, so what we were doing was communicating with them when they do their performance. They do the performance as an initial stage before they practice this whole painting. So it's interlinked, the art and the craft, the performance of the art as the singing as well as the performance of the wall painting, making the wall painting possible. The context and its religious connectivity are not touching up here, but taking the crafting and the art, connecting these two things and the community to talk about the sustainability. So I think I should, because running short of time, I know that we are waiting. So I would try to wind it up, expressing few things like, so yes, of course, museums are the treasure houses, museums are the powerhouses. Museum has the excellent power to communicate. What we need to do now is maybe a bit of volunteering activity where we have to strategize and package. Volunteering is as an activity where how much of volunteers could help, because many of the rural smaller museums, they don't have enough staff, they don't have enough money. Maybe volunteers from the higher education levels could go and help them, take the help, the museum take the help of the volunteers and make this further. But the museum community, the fraternity, the museum professionals, and the people from the museum sector could design, could strategize how to take the benefit of the volunteers. And I think I should stop here. And thank you so much for giving me an opportunity, Dr. Rahim, to walk in this event. And over to you, Amina. Thank you so much. Thank you, Professor Amina.
You were so busy and Joe, you were so busy and you joined and thank you.
Now I would like to call Ms. Mamta Mishra for delivering Dr. Shashi Dhawan Memorial Lecture
on the second.
Good afternoon to everyone. My voice is clear?
Yes, ma'am.
My voice is clear?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Good afternoon to everyone. Wonderful speaker, Dr. Abdul Rahim, Professor Mohammad Abdul, Professor Amika Patel, Dr. Mandana, and Dr. Dev. And first of all, I would like to thank you, Professor Abdul Rahim, Chairman, AMU, and General Secretary of ICPCB, for giving me this award I'm going to be present my presentation. Before that, I just few words of Dr. Shashi. My presentation is in the memory of Dr. Shashi ICBCP, who has a very good scientist. Besides a very good scientist, she was very kind-hearted, soft-spoken, very versatile personality representing the Soviet era. After retiring from MLC Lucknow, she joined Intact Conservation Institute Lucknow as an Intact Fellow. She was very close to my heart when I joined NRLC for 6-month training in 1986. At the first time, she was my teacher, but later she became my good friend. That too, so is one friendship. I learned and inspired a lot from her. Wherever I felt difficulties in the work, she solved. I had about 30-year experience with her and traveled along on official tour. Miss you, madam, and love you from my heart, Dr. Shashi. Now I am presenting my paper. have sent my PPT. Can you just show me? Is this audible? Hello?
Yes, audible, audible.
Okay. Now my presentation is conservation of museum artifacts. There is an essential requirement of the museum is the conservation, and there are a variety of art objects in museums. You have seen the museum belongs to a different variety of objects like time period, archaeological, historical and cultural interest. The collection is belong to organic and inorganic material and composite material. My sound is clear because I have an echo sound here.
Yeah, very clear.
Okay, thank you. So these are the variety you can see here in my PPT, the photographs, textiles, manuscripts, wooden objects, and here the books, wooden material, stamps, oil painting, all these materials is organic and derived from living material, living things. It means in the plant and animal they have some life at that time, but now it is becoming made of this cellulosic material. The inorganic material artifact was made from non-living materials such as metal, stone, ceramic and glass. You have seen here these are the varieties of the inorganic materials. Here you will see the collection are in the museums, and here also you see the Statue of Liberty, New York in USA, and the tallest statue of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel in 2020 in Gujarat. So, what is the preservation and conservation? These statues are in outside and maintain its originality, and even also in museums there is a lot of objects, organic and inorganic materials, and they deteriorate and require conservation. So we just talk to how to preserve and how to conserve this museum artifact. The first, we would just like to think about the factor of deterioration which is involved for the organic and inorganic material, just as a glimpse that biodeterioration like insect, fungus, algae, pest, light, climate, temperature, humidity, and the natural disaster, man-made disaster. But man-made disaster and the natural disaster is a drastic effect. It is not very affected to our museums, but the slow and cumulative effects more than 6 months natural cause it deteriorates our artifacts. Like biological deterioration is fungus, foxtail, insect, silverfish, cockroach, wood borer, bookworm, termite, white ant. The other is the physical deterioration, heat, light, temperature, relative humidity, mechanical damage, chemical deterioration, acidity, browning of paper, and improper materials.
deterioration is two types, immediate and drastic effect. The other is slow and cumulative effects. Immediate and drastic effect, that is called the disaster, and the management which control the disaster is called disaster management. The slow and cumulative effect, that is very effective to our art material and deteriorate if we not take precaution for the preservation and conservation. So here you can see the organic materials. These are affected by chemical deterioration, acidity, browning of paper, improper material, stains. So many things is involved for the deterioration. That the effect of light, that also effect to the museum objects. The display is very important. Now is a very common thing is scanner and photocopy. Manuscripts, the paintings can never be photocopied or scanned because the intensity of light is given on the object is very fast and it deteriorates your object. Even also heaters in the winter sometimes they can use, that is also very harmful. Now we are talking about the conservation, restoration and preservation. That is very important because the deterioration is a very continuous process and we should control by the conservation, restoration and preservation. So just define the definition of conservation. That conservation is all forms of direct and indirect action aimed at increasing the life expectancy of one element or a collection of an element of culture heritage. The restoration, all forms of direct action aimed at enhancing the message of a deteriorated single element of culture heritage is called restoration. When we are doing a specific object for the treatment, then that is called the restoration. Here you can see here the terracotta object is in damaged condition and after the restoration this will give its originality. And the doll with God, that is a composite material with textile and so many things is there, wooden material, metal. So this was also restored. Then the preservation. Preservation is the form of direct or indirect action aimed at reducing future risk of deterioration is the preventive conservation. The collection, most of the collection is required in preventive conservation. It is not necessary to conserve all the objects. Now, the INTACT that I am working from 35 years, that INTACT, Indian National Trust for Art and Cultural Heritage, the center has so many different units. Lucknow, that is established in 1985, Delhi, Bangalore, Bhubaneswar, Calcutta, Mumbai, and also we have given conservation services provided to Rampur Raza Library, Jodhpur, Mehrangarh, Jodhpur Fort, and Jaipur Nasiya Bhattacharya ji, Jaipur. So division of INTACT is art and material heritage, that is the conservation unit. The second is architectural heritage, which belong to the Asian buildings to conserve and restore craft community and heritage. INTACT Heritage Academy, Documentation Center,
Heritage Education Communication Service, Heritage Tourism Division, Intangible Culture Heritage, Natural Heritage, Listing Cell, Chapter, Intact Knowledge Centers. Keep going. Art and Material Heritage, it gives the services, care of objects and collection, preventive conservation and risk management, professional or conservation services, conservation tools and resources, training programs and internships, scientific research and development, and new techniques for conservation and restoration. So objective of the INTRACT is to preserve heritage for future generation, to provide unmatched service in conservation for art collection, to undertake continuous study and research to develop the best methodology in the field of conservation science in India, to spread concern for heritage conservation, training in conservation, organize workshops and seminars. So conservation methodology, whenever we receive a object, so first is documentation, examination, analysis and conservation. Examination, the visual examination you just examined by the deterioration like fungus, insect, and visually also using instrument to see the actual deterioration under illuminance magnifier. We have a analysis for fiber testing unit. In that case, we fiber testing is used for the manuscript and other paper materials belong to which fiber and the sizing material what they have. So at that purpose, we just analyze the sequence, the period of the objects and also when the paper is manufactured. Examination of oil painting, normally light examination, infrared IR examination and ultraviolet UV examination. Now here I am discussing about the project which carried by INTACT, that is conservation of artifacts of art and college Lucknow. Under the Ministry of Culture, we have conserved the whole of museum objects of College of Art and Craft, that is about 446 objects in multiple nature of the materials, and we conserve at the site also in the laboratory. The another project is conservation of oil painting at Vidhan Bhavan, Lucknow. They have a huge large paintings, oil paintings, and we conserve at the site. The total paintings are 9 and the team went to there and established a temporary laboratory and work active. The another is conservation of artifacts of Tagore Library and Museum under the Lucknow University, Lucknow. This is project also being carried by under the Ministry of Culture, and 625 objects we conserve of Tagore Library. The UP Institute of Design and Handicraft Museum, that is UPID, and we conserve the projects. The total collection is 1,140 artifacts. We conserve the site at the site and also in the library. Here I just discuss about the stuffed manuscript, that is Amir Khusro Ki Rubaiyan, is a Persian manuscript. This is fully stuffed and it is not possible to remove the folios we can use with the help of ultrasonic humidifier, and then patiently these folios were removed and successfully completed. Saving legacy of Mahatma Gandhi from Sabarmati Ashram, Ahmedabad. We have so many different varieties of newspaper cutting, letters, textiles, photographs, and we conserve in the places. Hazrat P. Muhammad Shah Library and Research Center, Gujarat. They have a very beautiful manuscripts, scroll, and one very interesting scroll that is 3.5 meter long. The name is Quran. It is the Surah of Quran, written in micro-sized font. So this will take a long time to conserve this scroll and successfully completed. Museum collection of Ahmedabad, Gujarat, record of Gandhi Smarak Sangrahalaya. This was conserved in the laboratory. Sometimes these letters, which is very fugitive ink, and it is not conserved by the chemical and aqueous process, then we can use the ultrasonic suction table, and with the help of them it was done successfully. Dr. Rajendra Prasad Smriti Sangrahalaya, Patna. The whole collection of Dr. Rajendra Prasad Smriti Sangrahalaya, Patna is received at ICI, and one very interesting object is the payslip of Dr. Rajendra Prasad is also conserved. All the materials belong to Dr. Rajendra Prasad ji, and the museum is established in Bihar. This is a very rare and Persian and Arabic manuscript collection we received from His Excellency of Dr. Omar Zawabi, Library, Muscat, Oman. The librarian came from the Muscat and hand over the manuscripts and returned back by the librarian. So we have conserved about 365 Persian, 368 Persian and Arabic manuscripts. Conservation of painting at Tilokinath Hall, Municipal Art Gallery, Nagalinam. That is in Lucknow. The whole collection belong to the eminent leaders is restored in the laboratory. This is a very interesting Shahi Masjid, and we conserve in the Lucknow. You can see the condition of the Shahi Masjid, and we have some photograph, original photograph of the design. So after the restoration, we conserve in the same manner. This is a Lord statue at Gorakhpur. The archaeological object excavated recently in 2020. The team is sent to there to and conserve in the temple. This is the project under the Smart City carried in Lucknow, Amritdaulah Public Library. They have a very huge a very important rare collection of Arabic, Persian, Urdu manuscripts and rare printed books and displayed paintings. So this project is under process and the conservation of manuscript is in process. And you can see the paintings of Amrit Dola, and this is the during treatment the portrait of Nawab. This is the project launched in 2015 wall painting survey at ICI Lucknow. The setup is set up in November 2005. Creation of wall painting directory is in attempt to document the monuments adorned with paintings. Uttar Pradesh has always been the cradle of rich heritage and cultural heritage. Protection and conservation of monument has been a real concern through it. It is through wall paintings are rather a neglected problem in the state. This project is already under process. Also recently launched in 2015 Impact Line Research and Testing Center Lucknow LRTC. The purpose of establishment of this laboratory to testing services to examination of lime mortar, lime plaster used in the building, construction and wall painting. Presently, the center is offering 21 tests related to historical lime and mortar as per BIS and NABL standard. Also organized training courses for architects, conservators or civil engineers. Conservation of manuscripts under the Manuscript Conservation Center, National Mission for Manuscript, which is established in 2003, Government of India. The center have a MCC and we conserve manuscripts in the laboratory. There is a separate unit of MCC Lucknow. Even with all the precautions, if collection may deteriorate, we need treatment. Prefer to go the conservation laboratory, conservation centers for the treatment. Upgradation and knowledge through training and workshops. The center has organized training and workshops time to time to aware the public, the general custodians, the custodians who has authority of the manuscripts. Thanks a lot. In this note, I would like to thank to AMU, ICBCP, ICOM for giving me an opportunity to join this session as a speaker and share my experience. I wish you all the best and hope you all will do wonder in the field of conservation. Best wishes and congratulations for International Museum Day. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Director Impact Conservation Institute for the Dr. Shishti Gori lecture. Director of Conservation Institute, Jack Nicole. The talk was very informative for all the museum professionals. Thank you very much. On this occasion, I pay homage to late Dr. Shashi Dhawan, who was the backbone of the ICPCP. I also pay homage to Padam Shri Gopi Agarwal, who was the founder president of ICBCP, who departed 2 months ago. Now I invite Dr. Aniza Jari to propose vote of thanks.
Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon to all of you. I would like to express my deep sense of gratitude to the Honorable Vice Chancellor, A.P. Aligarh, Professor Tariq Masood, the veteran, and providing all the necessary support for this program. I extend my sincere thanks to Professor Mohammad Azhar, Dean Faculty of Life Sciences, and the co-patron for delivering the inaugural address on the theme of the members, staff members, research scholars, and students of the Department of Physiology for their enthusiastic participation and all efforts to make this seminar possible. Thanks to all the participants such as member of ICOM India, ICPCP from all over India and abroad. I also thanks to university administration, press and media persons for their logistic support. Now we will conclude this program with University Tarana and National Anthem. I would request all the participants over here to kindly stand up during the National Anthem. Thank you.
तो कुछ भी कर गया
अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा शरद तब शुभ नामे जागे जब शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे जन गण मंगल दायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे